Alright guys, welcome back to episode 4 of Learning the System. Today we're going to look at actions and how they work in the game. So in previous episodes we've gone over skills and stuff like that. So let's get into what characters can actually do while you're playing. So in Fate, like, I've kind of gone over with aspects and stuff, since it doesn't kind of work the same way other games do, it's more open and fluid. So it's really like the game master. I keep wanting to say dungeon master, but the game master and the players kind of, in some ways, really work together to create a story. So with the actions, these are how your character does things with their skills, how they fight, and how they affect the environment, which is unusual for a lot of games. So with actions, there are 4 basic types, and they cover pretty much everything your character could do. So the first action is what's called an overcome action. And with that type of action, basically what you're doing is rolling your skills, is the simplest way to put it. If you're trying to overcome a difficulty, basically, now difficulties, just to cover it, can be active or passive. An example would be, say, a passive difficulty would be you're running and you need to jump over a wall, and it's a very low wall. So the game master might say it's a difficulty of 2, for example. So whenever you go to jump the wall, you would take your skill plus the 4 fate dice, roll it. If you get a 2 or better, then of course you jump the wall. No problem. An active difficulty would be, say, you're running to that wall and you're being chased by the town guard. So since this one's active, what would happen in that situation is you would roll your, say, running skill and your 4 fate dice and get a number. The guard chasing you would roll their running skill and 4 fate dice, and whoever rolled highest would win. So that's why it's called active, because both parties are rolling dice. So that's where the difference comes in. And then another thing to keep in mind with the actions and skill use in general is that whenever you roll against a difficulty, whatever it is, if you roll 3 or higher than the difficulty you needed to beat, you succeed. You not only succeeded, but you succeeded with style. And when you succeed with style, you get a boost. And a boost basically is a temporary aspect that only lasts until you use it. And it's more personal in nature, like you're really the only one that's supposed to use those kind of thing. And then you get an invocation. Well, with the full boost, you get 2 free invocations on it, and then it goes away. So if you were, say, walking down the London streets and foggy was an aspect, that affects everybody, and it's like over the scene. Where if, say, you pulled the cop's hat down over his eyes while you're in the fog, then you get a boost which says that you might have an advantage to trying to run away because he can't see you because his hat's over his eyes, or something like that. It's a real quick one that, he's going to do this, it's over, and it doesn't affect the scene anymore, unlike a real, like, geographic or whatever you want to call it, permanent aspect. So that's basically overcome. It's, like I said, one of the most used actions, I think, in the game. The second action is create an advantage. Now, create an advantage, basically, when you take that action, you are invoking an aspect. That's the basic way to look at it. Whether that's a scene-wide aspect or if it's a boost that you've created, you're invoking that. So you're creating an advantage for yourself when you may do your roll or whatnot. Because in a sense, these are all 4 actions, but they all involve rolling dice. So when you create an advantage, you might say, I want to, I don't know, hide from the cop in the scene, right? And so you go to do that, you invoke the aspect, because you're creating the advantage for yourself of it's foggy, so that would give you your, extra 2 on your roll, like normal invoking an aspect. And that's really how that one comes in. So that one would get used a fair amount, but of course I don't think nowhere near as much as the standard overcome action. Your next 2 actions are interrelated with each other, and that's attack and defend. So with attack, basically you're trying to hurt somebody, or something. The attack action can be physical, mental, magical. It's got a lot of different ways it can be used. It really depends on the situation, but basically it's going to come down to your whatever skill. So for example, if you're going to shoot somebody, it would be your shoot skill plus 4 dice, or your melee skill plus 4 dice, or your psychic attack plus 4 dice, whatever it may be. And then you go against the difficulty, and again, that difficulty could be passive, like say it's a town guard who's of no consequence, so it doesn't really matter if he defends himself or not, or you're just shooting an inanimate object, something like that. So that would be one way to use it. Or if you're actively attacking somebody. We'll get more into the nitty-gritty of combat in like the next episode, but in general, that's what the attack does. And then if it's an active attack, then it's going to be countered by the defend action, which is the last action we're talking about here. So defend works the same way. Basically, if somebody attacks you, you roll a defend to not get hit. So whether that's dodging out of the way, or deflecting it, or whatever. The neat thing with attack and defend, though, is that they are interrelated to each other. And the way the rulebook has them described is they because when you read the skill, it'll say like, oh, you fail, well then whatever you wanted to happen didn't happen, or depending, sometimes the opposite could happen. And then you succeed, and then you succeed with style, right? So if you attack and you succeed, then you hurt the other person you're attacking, and you get like a boost or whatever, right? If you read defend, what it says, if you fail, well, you get hurt, but if you succeed, then you avoided taking damage, and you get a boost against the person who attacked you. So they're kind of back and forth that way, which I think is really interesting. Because so like if I attack with the sword, and they do good on the defense and succeed, well then I haven't hit them, but then they've thrown maybe my sword off balance, so they get an advantage when they attack me, in the form of a boost or whatnot, which is, again, just a little temporary situational aspect, or maybe they threw sand in my eyes so I can't see as well, while we're continuing the combat or whatever. So it's really kind of neat depending on how it goes. Like if you defend with style, you get more benefit against the person that attacked you, So it's kind of like the opposite of how attack works in its description. But it's really kind of cool how it works together. So those are the basic 4 actions, and they pretty much cover everything that a player is going to do in the game, for the most, I mean, except for role playing, of course, but that in general is how it works. So I hope that was helpful, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you in just a little bit with the next episode, which we should be covering the nitty-gritties of combat and damage and healing. So thanks.